Ava once thought she had everything in perfect order. She held a respected position as head of marketing, had a loving husband, Caleb, and enjoyed a financially secure, stable life. She felt a sense of pride in managing their mortgage payments independently, which added to her sense of accomplishment. Family was at the heart of everything, and Caleb's younger brother, Felix, along with their mother, Regina, were always a part of their lives. Having lost their father years ago, the brothers' devotion to their mother deeply impressed Eva. It was a beautiful bond, and it made her admire Caleb even more for his loyalty to his family. Regina initially seemed to approve of Eva, engaging her in conversations about her work at family gatherings, often commenting with a nod, "Marketing, huh? Sounds important." It was comforting to feel welcomed and appreciated by Caleb's family, and Eva looked forward to becoming a true part of their tight-knit circle. The early years of their marriage were filled with happy weekends, festive meals, and spontaneous family game nights. One Thanksgiving at Regina's stands out in Eva's memory, where the laughter and chatter created an inviting atmosphere that made her feel like she truly belonged. However, things began to shift during a New Year's Eve party at Regina's house. While Eva was in the kitchen refilling her wine glass, she overheard a conversation that started to change her view. Regina was making fun of Clara's affordable dress in the living room, mocking her as a single mother who was trying too hard to fit in with the elites. This moment made Eva reassess the family dynamics she had once admired. What she had initially seen as harmless teasing began to reveal a much more cruel side. Over time, Regina started to gather with Caleb and Felix to whisper and laugh about various family members and friends, making snide comments at their expense. It became harder and harder for Eva to ignore. One Easter Sunday, Eva reached her breaking point. Regina was casually criticizing a relative's financial choices, and Eva could no longer stay silent. She stood up and confronted her, hoping to defend those who were the target of her subtle bullying. The room went quiet, and Regina, with a biting tone, dismissed Eva's concerns, suggesting that she was overreacting. In that moment, Eva turned to Caleb, hoping for his support, but his lack of response was crushing. Eva had once seen these family gatherings as warm and loving, but now she began to see the undercurrent of cruelty beneath it all. After Caleb's disappointing reaction, family events became increasingly difficult for Eva. She often found herself sitting alone, nursing a drink, while Caleb stayed by his mother's side. He would occasionally glance at her with an apologetic look, but never did he step away to offer the support she desperately needed. One evening, after enduring yet another uncomfortable dinner, Eva confronted Caleb. "Why can't you ever stand up to her?" she asked, her frustration spilling over. Caleb, looking exhausted, ran a hand through his hair. "She's my mother, Eva. What do you want me to do?" "I want you to tell her she's being cruel. I want you to stand by me," Eva insisted. But he never did. As time passed, Eva began making excuses to avoid these painful family gatherings. Whether it was a sudden work emergency or a migraine, she would find any excuse to escape the harsh whispers and cold stares. Just as Eva thought their situation couldn't become more strained, life threw a significant twist their way. She was pregnant. Discovering the pregnancy left Eva with a mix of emotions, holding the test with shaking hands and calling out for Caleb, who came rushing, concern painting his features. When she showed him the test, his reaction, a mixture of shock and relief, pulled her into a brief hope that perhaps this new life might mend the growing fissures between them. However, the pregnancy proved to be anything but easy. Eva faced constant nausea and dizziness, with the looming threat of miscarriage hovering over her, forcing her into bed rest and eventually quitting her job. As her condition worsened and her eyesight began to deteriorate, a rare but potentially permanent complication, she felt Caleb drifting further away, often returning home late, if at all, leaving her to face her challenges alone. The day of Eva's scheduled C-section arrived sooner than expected due to her vision issues, making natural birth too risky. Lying on the operating table, filled with a blend of fear and anticipation, she asked for Caleb, only to be told by a nurse that he had chosen to wait outside. The surgery itself went smoothly, and hearing her son's first cries was a transcendent moment, filling Eva with an overwhelming rush of love. However, the joy was short-lived. Caleb eventually appeared in the recovery room, his discomfort and annoyance barely concealed. "Eva, we need to talk," he began abruptly. his words dismissing the necessity of her surgery and lamenting the presence of men during childbirth as against old norms, striking a deep chord of pain within her. As he stormed out, claiming the hospital environment was too much for him, Eva was left alone, reeling not only from his words but also from the reality of their situation. The subsequent weeks were a haze of sleepless nights and constant feedings, with Caleb's presence becoming rarer, leaving Eva to navigate the challenging waters of new motherhood by herself. Ever since their son was born, Caleb barely helped with his care and often complained. "Can you shut him up?" he growled as their baby cried through the night. "I'm trying," Eva would reply, her voice heavy with exhaustion. "He's teething, Caleb. It hurts him." But Caleb had no patience for it all. "All you do is focus on the kid. What about me? What about our sex life?" Eva was astonished by his lack of understanding and compassion, especially as she was still recovering from major surgery and running on minimal sleep. As the weeks turned into months, Caleb's dissatisfaction only grew. One evening, while Eva was trying to soothe their fussy 7-month-old, he bluntly stated, "You need to go back to work." "What?" "But the baby," Eva began. "We hire a nanny," he interrupted. "We can't keep living like this, Eva. We need the money." Despite wanting to argue that their son needed her and that she wasn't ready to return to work, the resolute look in his eyes silenced her. With a heavy heart, Eva began job hunting. Finding work with her compromised vision was challenging. She eventually secured a position at a smaller company, although the pay was less than before. When she informed Caleb, his response was predictably dismissive. "That's it?" he scoffed. "We're paying a nanny for this?" Tears welled up in Eva's eyes. "I'm doing my best, Caleb. It's not easy with my eyesight," she pleaded. "Excuses," he muttered, walking away. This marked the beginning of Eva's new reality. Rushing to work each morning, guilt gnawing at her as she left her baby with the nanny, struggling through the day with her limited vision, and then coming home to a resentful husband and a son who desperately needed her attention. Time passed in a blur of work, childcare, and escalating tension at home. Before Eva knew it, 3 years had gone by since her son's birth. Despite the difficulties, she cherished him deeply and found joy in his milestones. Family gatherings continued to be stressful, particularly because of Regina's behavior. She would perform the role of the doting grandmother when others were watching, but her disinterest was obvious. "Come to Grandma," she'd coo in a sweet voice, arms outstretched toward Eva's son. Yet he would cling to Eva, turning his face away from this woman he barely knew. Regina's expression was sour. "What have you been telling him about me?" she hissed accusingly. "You're turning my grandson against me." Eva tried to explain, weary. "He just doesn't know you well, Regina. If you visited more often—" But she would cut Eva off. "Don't you dare blame this on me," Regina snapped, storming off to complain to Caleb. On an ordinary Tuesday morning, Eva's world was once again thrown off balance. Holding a pregnancy test, her heart raced as she saw the positive result. A wave of fear washed over her. Her first pregnancy had been fraught with complications, and her health had been severely affected. Could her body handle another one? As she calculated the timing, Eva realized she was already well into her first trimester. It felt as though the decision had been made without her full awareness. With shaking hands, she called Caleb at work to share the news. His response was sharp and impatient. "What is it?" he asked. "Caleb, Eva began, her voice faltering. There was a long pause on the other end, followed by a dismissive tone. "Look, Eva, I'm busy. We'll talk later. Just don't quit your job, okay? We can't afford that." The line went dead, leaving Eva staring at her phone, feeling more alone than ever. Fortunately, this pregnancy wasn't as difficult as her first. The morning sickness was manageable, and her vision stayed stable, allowing her to continue working. Eva was determined to provide for their growing family, but as her belly expanded, the gap between Caleb and her seemed to grow wider. He spent more time at his mother's house and often came home late. One evening, feeling drained from managing their toddler and the pregnancy, Eva asked Caleb for help as he walked in the door. "Hey, could you read him a story? I'm really tired," she asked, hoping for a little support. Caleb glanced at them, then at his watch. "Can't. I promised Mom I'd help her move some furniture." "Don't wait up," he said. And without another word, he was gone, leaving Eva alone with their son and tears in her eyes. By the time Eva reached her 7th month of pregnancy, Thanksgiving was approaching. Guests began to arrive in the afternoon, including John and Mary, who immediately started helping. The house buzzed with the warmth of conversation and laughter. Just before dinner, the doorbell rang again, and it was Felix, Caleb's younger brother, except he wasn't alone. "Everyone, this is Serafina," Felix said, introducing his fiancée. The mood in the room instantly brightened with congratulations. Regina showed up shortly afterward, and her face lit up when she saw Serafina. During dinner, she lavished attention on Serafina, asking about her job as a manager at a national bank. "How prestigious!" Regina exclaimed, clearly impressed. Then in a louder voice meant for everyone to hear, Regina added, "Serafina here makes $220,000 a month. Now that's the kind of daughter-in-law I've always dreamed of. Smart, beautiful, successful." Her words stung, especially when she shot a pointed look in Eva's direction, adding, "Unlike some people who can only..." For more stories, please like the video, subscribe our channel, and press the bell icon to get more interesting stories.